Well, first of all, it's just a really exciting time to be in leadership in our region. And I've had the opportunity to serve on the Sacramento City Council for a decade, most of that time as the only female serving our region. I am great friends with Dr. Richard Pan, who is the outgoing senator. He's terming out. And for the past few years, we've talked about it a lot. And I finally just see a route for me. I think there's a way for me to take everything that I've learned on the city council and everything that I've learned in my life and be the senator for the region. I will tell you, it is sometimes hard to imagine yourself as a state senator. It's a big title, it feels big. I was a single mom in this city not that long ago on food stamps with a little boy and working my way through undergrad at UC Davis and law school at McGeorge. So it's been quite a journey, and I am thrilled at the opportunity to serve this region and head to the state capitol and use everything I've learned to fight for families in Sacramento.
What are some of the most important things you'd like to get done if you're elected?
Yeah, so I've had this really unique and great opportunity to partner with the existing senator the whole time that I've been on the council. So, one thing that I understand really well is the connection between state government and local government. And there are so many things that the state can provide for us at the local level, either in policy or in terms of funding, that can help us address local issues. Like, here's a big one: we have a housing crisis in Sacramento. I'd love to see some form of redevelopment for housing only come back to our region. We need resources, particularly for low and very low income housing. Education is a big deal for me. I've passed 2 school bonds and a library tax in Sacramento because I just think that investing in youth and technology and libraries and literacy and science is really, really important. So investment in youth childcare, obviously, I'm a mom. I think those things are incredibly important. For me, the gender issues are enormous. There hasn't been a female elected to this seat in almost 2 decades, and I am thrilled to be next up. I think it's time. We've elected a lot of men in this region to the 4 seats that represent us in the state legislature. 9 actually since the last time we elected a woman. So for me, gender equity and equal opportunity and parity are also big issues. I think social justice is definitely a huge issue for our region, for the whole country actually. And climate and our environment, how we're handling that, are all really big issues. All things that I'm excited to continue to work on at that next state level.
I know a COVID response has been an important issue for you. What kinds of new issues in COVID response do you anticipate there could be in 2022?
Yes, that's a really a great question. Obviously, there will be a lot of recovery. So recovery for personal economics, people who either struggle to pay rent or to pay mortgages. How do we help them? How do we keep them in their homes? How do we help them with their finances, their bills? And then what's going to happen with the vaccination in terms of boosters, in terms of next go rounds, in terms of increasing groups, like we know we're dropping down to age 12 now. Will there be, will how much of new groups will come into that into play in the vaccination circle? How much outreach do we need to do? How many groups in our communities did we not reach with the first rounds of vaccinations? So I think making sure that we're doing outreach, making sure that we're doing education, making sure that we're helping people with their finances. And then of course there's going to be a lot of business recovery. We're still seeing restaurants and the service industry in particular trying to come back. Things like our urban core, downtown Sacramento, still struggling quite a bit. And so we'll see, I think, a lot of need for investment in areas that are having a hard time rebounding from the pandemic.
You are running to replace Dr. Pan, and he's endorsed you today.
Yes.
What does his endorsement mean for you and your campaign?
Well, first of all, just set aside politics. In life in general, my wish for everyone is that they have someone like Dr. Pan in their life. He is sincere and genuine and earnest and smart, and I'm so honored to call him a friend, but to have his endorsement too is there are almost no words to describe how that feels. But for me to have that kind of support is affirming. And I think it boosts the campaign. Of course, he's very popular. People do look to him, they trust him. But for me personally, it gives me courage and conviction.
Are there any specific policy agenda items that that Dr. Pan was a champion of that you plan to build upon?
Well, I'm not a pediatrician, but Dr. Pan will definitely go down in the record books as the healthcare champion of his lifetime in this legislature. And my plan is also to champion healthcare. There's a great need for us to expand healthcare for folks. Although California's done a great job, we can certainly do more. And I will be leaning heavily on Dr. Pan to help me navigate those waters. I think Dr. Pan's also been a champion for communities, and I am too. A champion for families, a champion for education. You mentioned COVID response. Another obvious area where we're going to have to really help is kids. They've missed, or had reduced amounts of education for over a year. We're going to help them catch up and provide resources. Those are things that Dr. Pan and I both really believe in: investing in our youth, investing in healthcare, investing in communities.
So the District 6 race is expected to be pretty competitive, and one of your fellow council members, Eric Guerra, is running against you. What do you think sets you apart?
Well, I think there are a few things that set me apart. I guess the most obvious thing is that I am the only female in this race, but also I've been in leadership for over 10 years. I am the longest tenured council member in Sacramento. I am a mom. I am the only person to have given birth while in office. I was a young single mom in this city. I know what it's like to push your way through that type of challenge. And I've served in a leadership role on the Sacramento City Council for 7 of the 11 years that I have been there as either vice mayor or mayor pro tem. I've worked in every corner of this region. I went to Sac High, a downtown high school in the middle of Oak Park. I went to McGeorge back in Oak Park for law school, and I went just across the causeway to UC Davis. I've been here since I was 10 years old, and I know Sacramento well. I have fought for Sacramento, and my life experience is such that I can wed what I have learned in my leadership roles at City Hall with the partnerships I've had with Dr. Pan in the legislature. And I believe that I'll really be able to bring resources and policy to Sacramento in a way that my opponents cannot.
You mentioned earlier that if you're elected, you would be the first woman elected to state senate from Sacramento in about 20 years. What do you think that means for other women or young girls out there, just as a milestone or something to look forward to?
It's a really important question. It is extremely difficult, even for me, by the way, to envision yourself in these positions when no one in these seats looks like you. And no one in these seats has come from the place that you have come from. And so diversity of representation is extremely important. One of our speakers today at our kickoff was a young woman named Isabel Gatdula. She's a freshman at Cal Berkeley, and she is the daughter of an immigrant from El Salvador, her mom, who runs an in-home daycare and raised Isabel. Isabel is an interbaccalaureate graduate who graduated as her class salutatorian. She's amazing in every regard. But she talked about being in the field of STEM and having men speak over her, having people explain things to her that she already knows, and having people treat her with less respect than she treats them. She talked about how important it is to see women like me in leadership roles, that young women want to be heard and they want to be valued and they want to be treated equally. And I talk about this a lot. I want to make sure that the little girls of today enter the workforce of tomorrow receiving equal pay to their male counterparts. And that is a big part of my life's mission and something I will be fixated on in the California state legislature.
Okay, what are your thoughts? Kind of switching gears from your candidacy. What are your thoughts about the ongoing effort to recall Governor Newsom?
Oh, you know what? I think that the recall on Gavin Newsom is a waste of time and money. I know people are frustrated. I know that some folks are deeply frustrated with the pandemic and things that have happened over the last year, but I just would rather see us pulling together and working towards solutions that unite us. I think we need peacemakers right now at this time. And I think that money and time and energy would be better spent looking at solutions for how to lift everyone up post pandemic, how to make sure that we're getting vaccinations out to everyone in the community, that we're getting businesses the help that they need, that we're getting students the help that they need. I'd rather we focused our efforts on that.
Well, I think that's all the questions that I have. Is there anything else you'd like to add, or anything that maybe we didn't get to touch on that you want to say now?
I would say that one big distinction today too, I don't want this to be overshadowed, although Dr. Pan is certainly the highlight of the day here. We also launched with over 200 endorsements from local community leaders across the entire region, including dozens of other elected officials as well. And I'm really proud of those folks who are stepping out early. That's before we even put up a campaign webpage or a single sentence on social media. Over 200 folks joined us, and I'm really, really proud of that list of friends and supporters and encouragers. And I would just ask people to check out the web page and scroll through. I guarantee you'll know someone on that list.